Hi, good morning, everybody. Today, the subject of our caregiving support group and our resource is Don't Let This Happen to You. I'm Pamela Wilson. I am down here in the right corner. I wanted you to see that I am here live today. And the reason for this group is multi-purpose. I have been a caregiving expert for the past 20 years and mostly on call in hospitals and hospital emergency rooms, in client homes, helping caregivers and aging adults solve caregiving problems. I transitioned out of the one-to-one contact to reach as many caregivers and as many aging adults as possible, because I know what happens in caregiving situations that you don't. I know what happens that caregivers have no idea that are going to happen that can be harmful to yourself and your loved ones. And I'll share some of that in the presentation today. I'm going to take myself off camera because it will speed up the transmission of this webinar. And I have a video that I'm going to show you about why hospitals aren't the best place for aging adults. So let me turn off the camera. I'm going to advance the slides. So let's just start with the basics, the benefits of caregiving support group. If you haven't met me before, I have 20 years of family and professional caregiver experience. I lost a sister, both of my parents, and a brother before the age of 40. And since then have worked as a professional caregiver, helping caregivers and aging adults. The benefits of caregiving support are so many, but the commonality is that caregivers and aging adults resist getting help because you think you can manage your care situation. You think that you know how to do it. And I know from my own personal experience with my parents when they were alive over 20 years ago, we thought we knew it all too. I had a college education. I had a sister who was a nurse. We made so many mistakes in retrospect, and that is the theme of today's webinar. So the benefits of caregiving support groups are that you will find solutions to common caregiving questions, and I always say there are no silly questions in caregiving. You can also interact with other caregivers who understand, because so many times there are outside people in caregiving situations that very easily judge the caregiver. And they will say, oh, your caregiving situation can't possibly be that difficult. Well, they have no idea what you're going through. And even more likely, they have no caregiving experience and they judge. As a caregiver, you don't need that. You don't need to be told what to do or how to feel by anyone else. The third benefit of caregiving support groups is to gain confidence in your abilities and in your decision-making. And the theme again is it's what you don't know that results in problems. Then you have the benefit of socialization, a little bit of fun, camaraderie, being able to be with other caregivers, because caregiving can be isolating. Sometimes you feel like you are all alone. There are days where you feel hopeless. You feel like nothing is going right. That is so common in caregiving situations. In these webinars, I share a topic every month, so please feel free to make suggestions, and I will show you how and where to do that in a moment. So you can post questions in the chat. If you do that, I will receive an email if you're watching a replay of this webinar, and I will respond. Questions for this webinar and for this group can be emailed to me at inquiryforpamela@pameladwilson.com, which is my website. These presentations are usually the first Saturday of the month. However, if I have to change the date, I will update it on the registration page. And this link at the bottom will get you to the registration page for this webinar. Other support exists. So if you go to my website, there is abundant information a caregiving library, a newsletter that you can sign up for, videos, podcasts, articles to help with your caregiving situation. I also have a private Facebook group, and it's called the Caregiving Trap, that you can join. And I post live videos on Facebook just about every day. So if you are interested in caregiving subjects, please go to my Facebook page. It is my name. It's PamelaDWilson.com. So here are my beliefs and why I do this. This is a picture of my mom before she passed away, way back 20 years ago. She loved being out in nature. But older adults deserve care and treatment and dignity. And so many times they don't receive that. The healthcare system is biased against care for aging adults. I have experienced this myself. If you're an older adult, you may experience this. Even women get not as good care as men, regardless of your age. For some reason, doctors tend to take men more seriously, and I don't mean to be derogatory to any of the men that are watching this support groups, but it's true. You know, women are seen as being emotional and having more health problems, and so doctors don't take us as seriously as men because men tend not to complain, and men don't like to go to doctors, by the way. Number 2 belief is that caregiving is a balancing act. It is something that we must learn how to manage in our lives. And when I say a balancing act in 50-50, that means that 50% participation is from the caregiver and 50% is from the aging adult. It can't be one way or another unless a family member has Alzheimer's and you're the caregiver, or the situation has advanced to end of life and the person receiving care can't really participate. The way to make caregiving successful is to participate equally as much as possible. And number 3, caregiving support is so necessary. Please do not be afraid to seek support. Don't be hesitant to ask for help. Your caregiving situation can greatly improve if you do this. So, the subject of today's webinar is Don't Let This Happen to You. Caregivers want positive family relationships in caregiving, and many times the relationships become strained. They can become strained with aging parents because adult children are viewed as wanting different things or as being insensitive to the needs of their parents. And I'll give you just a couple of quick examples. As an aging parent, as an aging adult, there are so many losses, and caregiving is a lot about losses. Aging adults, aging parents lose physical abilities. You are maybe not able to drive a car anymore. Physically, you have more health problems, and that's a statistical reality of healthcare research in the United States. Adults over age 50 have chronic health issues. The older we get, the more chronic health issues we have, and we don't feel good. Adult children who are healthy have difficulty being empathetic with parents who don't feel good because they don't understand what not feeling good feels like. Adult children are stressed by caregiving tasks, but also by fear of losing an aging parent. So as adult children, we want to just fix everything and make it better, which may not always coincide with the aging parent wants to have done, because aging parents feel like they are losing control over life and control over everything. They want to maintain independence, but that is so difficult. And that is where the challenges come in family caregiving relationships. You also may have brothers, sisters, loved ones who should be helping, but they're not. Maybe you feel like you're the only caregiver who's doing everything. And in many cases, you probably are. So there's dysfunction and disagreement within families, even between who should be the caregiver and what the care should be. Caregivers want confidence to be able to manage their care situations and make the right decisions. And that is how I help you, because I help you learn what can happen in caregiving so that you can avoid all of the pitfalls, the frustrations, and the risk. And we all want better than average care for loved ones, which is not easy to achieve with the healthcare system, and to take better care of ourselves and our families. This is the introduction to a video that I'm going to play for you, and the video is about 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And it talks about why hospitals are not the best place for aging adults. And I wanted to share this quote from a caregiver who saw this video on my Facebook page. It broke my heart when I saw it, but it also made me realize that caregivers so badly need this information. So I ask you, please, to share this webinar, share the information on my Facebook page, on my website, on my YouTube channel, on my Roku TV channel. So many people out there are going through caregiving issues. They have no idea what happens, and harm comes to caregivers and to loved ones. People die unnecessarily. So let me read you this quote. The quote says, "Thanks for that good advice. Unfortunately, it comes too late for my 86-year-old brother who passed away recently after a hip fracture, and both orthopedists refusing to do any surgery. The resultant pain and loss of walking after 8 weeks of healing was horrible, and he fell again and could not get to his oxygen and died." This is such a sad reality, and the video that I'm about to play for you illustrates other examples. So my mission is to help caregivers and aging adults learn to take action to avoid harm and caregiving disasters. So I'm going to stop the slide presentation here for a moment, and I'm going to play a video for you. And again, it's 8 minutes and 30 seconds, so stay there and watch. Today we're here to talk about why hospitals and nursing homes are not the best place for aging adults. I'll share secrets that the healthcare system doesn't want you to know. If staying at home and remaining independent is important to you, and staying out of hospitals and nursing homes is exactly what you want, stay with me for this very important video. I'm Pamela Wilson. For the past 20 years, I have been on call 24/7, helping caregivers and aging adults solve caregiving problems. I've served as a court-appointed guardian, a medical and financial power of attorney, and a care manager. I know what happens in caregiving situations. Hospitals, they are not the best place for aging adults, and for a large number of reasons. Now, if you are in a situation where you need surgery for a serious condition, the hospital is the place. There's nowhere else to get that kind of care. But if you have small aches and pains, if you come down with frequent urinary tract infections, maybe you have chronic bronchitis, my recommendation to you is see your primary care physician on a regular basis. And avoid the hospital. If you really need urgent care, go to an urgent care clinic. If they can't help you, they will be honest and send you to the hospital. And here's why we're even talking about this today. We're talking about it because most aging adults want to stay at home. Hospitals today make it more difficult for aging adults to get care. There is a provision in the Affordable Care Act. I actually call it the Unaffordable Care Act because, in my opinion, it has made healthcare so expensive. But if you are an aging adult and you go to the emergency room, did you know that they don't always admit you. There is a penalty now for hospitals specific to older adults, where the hospitals don't want to admit aging adults for certain conditions. If you have high blood pressure, you've had a heart attack, you have pneumonia, admissions for hip fractures, admissions for knee surgeries, things like that. If you, let's say that you're in the hospital and you have surgery and you go home and you come back within 15 days, that hospital is financially penalized. So, if you're not going to a hospital for surgery and your situation isn't serious, they don't want to admit you. So what do? They put you on something that's called observation status. What does that mean and why is it even important? What it means is you're not admitted. And the cost to you through your insurance will be higher. But the really important thing about not being admitted to the hospital is that many older adults who go into the hospital become more physically weak. This is actually why you don't want to go in the first place unless you really have to. When you become more physically weak, it's more difficult for you to recover when you go back home. If you're not admitted, your health insurance will not pay for you to go to a rehabilitation center, which honestly is just a nicer name for a nursing home. Now, I understand. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. But if you're hospitalized and you become weaker, the risk of you going back home and having another accident happen, another fall, something else that sends you back to the emergency room is really high. You're better off going for a week, 10 days, however long your insurance will pay, to a rehabilitation facility so that they can do physical therapy and occupational therapy that will make you stronger so that you can then stay at home and be independent. But if you go to the emergency room and they don't admit you and you don't ask and you're on observation, you lose that opportunity. So there's a lot of reasons you don't want to go to the hospital. Your loved ones, if you go to the hospital, make sure that you ask. The staff isn't going to volunteer to tell you. They don't want the general public to know that they're penalized. And I'm sure that the government, when they enacted this healthcare bill, never imagined the lengths that hospitals would go to not to admit aging adults so that you get care. In my opinion, it's ethically wrong, but it's the way it is. And I have had many clients in my 20 years that I've had to fight with hospital staff to get them admitted. One actually passed away, and I'll share her story. I had a client who unfortunately was living in a skilled nursing community permanently because she needed a lot of hands-on care. And one day I went to see her and I noticed that she had breathing issues and she wasn't doing well. Now, in the first place, the fact that I noticed this and not the nursing home staff, that's the first problem. I requested that the nursing home send her to the hospital because I thought she had pneumonia and she should be treated. The hospital, according to this little bill, this healthcare bill, said, oh, she's fine, and they sent her back to the nursing home. I knew that she wasn't, so I actually hired caregivers to go in and be with her 24/7 to watch her every minute in case her condition got worse. I got a call the next morning. She was coughing up phlegm, the situation was worse, sent her back, unfortunately, to the same hospital. Can you guess what happened? They sent her back and said, there is nothing wrong with her. We have no reason to keep her. I was so frustrated. I argued, I tried to argue with them. There was nothing that I could do to get them to keep her. So, another day goes by, I have the caregivers, same thing happens the next day, but she's worse. I have her sent out, but to a different hospital. So 3 days, 2 hospitals, another hospital. Fortunately, or unfortunately, this hospital did all of the testing that they should have, and they diagnosed her with severe pneumonia. Unfortunately, by this time, after 3 days of me trying to get care for her, The pneumonia was so severe that she passed away. To me, it's tragic that the healthcare system does this to older adults. It's important that you know about this so that you can advocate for your loved ones. And honestly, if you can, if it's not a dire situation, avoid the hospital emergency rooms. Go see your doctor. Go to an urgent care center. If you become so physically weak that you need help, talk to your doctor. They can probably prescribe physical therapy for you to solve the problem that the hospital won't. I'm Pamela Wilson. I help caregivers and aging adults solve caregiving problems. I believe that older adults deserve care. I know that the healthcare system is biased against treating aging adults. I have so many stories that I could tell you. More information is available on my website at PamelaDWilson.com. There is also a free caregiving library, 30 categories of information, a newsletter, a monthly support group, and I offer courses and programs about all kinds of subjects in caregiving. How to keep loved ones at home, power of attorney. I'll be coming out with more courses as time goes on. Please visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com, and I hope to see you back here for an. So caregivers, we are back. Let me bring the slide presentation back up so that we can continue. I hope that you found that video helpful and learned some things about how to advocate for your own care. The Unaffordable Care Act really has made getting care for aging adults more difficult. In my opinion, it has actually made doctors look at care for aging adults as unnecessary. Doctors over the years have said to me, oh, your client is old, they're 85, 90, they've lived a good life. Why are we going to treat them? Why shouldn't we just let them pass away? And because I was the court-appointed guardian or the medical power of attorney, I had a legal responsibility to my client to do what most of my clients wanted, and the majority wanted care. They didn't want to be written off. They didn't want to die. They wanted care from the hospitals. And so many times I had to tell the doctor that I had a legal responsibility and that that was my job and my client wanted care and that they needed to provide care. I'll tell you, the doctors didn't like this, but this is how I help caregivers and aging adults today. I help you learn how to navigate the healthcare system and all of the things that happen that make getting care difficult. I can help you. So, questions. We're going to close out this month's support group and resource webinar. If you have questions, you can email them to me at inquiry@PamelaDWilson.com. A reminder to join me on Facebook. My page is my name. It's PamelaDWilson.com. Join my group, The Caregiving Trap. Please check out the daily videos, the daily posts. They are helpful for you. And also do visit my website. It is PamelaDWilson.com. And then I just want to share my courses for you. And I apologize for the typo on this slide. It should say, join me in a course and gain control of your care or caregiving situation. So I have two courses. The first one is called Stay at Home. And the goal is really to keep aging adults at home as long as possible. Now, in the course, I help you manage care regardless of where home is. So home could be a private home. It could be an assisted living community or memory care or even a nursing home. But the primary goal is aging adults want to stay at home. It is a course that has course educational materials, but also I come on like I am today in a live webinar where you have the opportunity to come on and ask questions and gain solutions to caregiving situations. We also assess your individual care situation. And what that means is we look at what's happening and what's going on, and we look at the gap between where you are and where you'd like to be and how to close that gap. And you may be thinking, well, I can do that myself. I can tell you that in life, regardless of whether it's a caregiving situation or another situation, how many times have you had difficulty solving a problem? Or you wanted to do something and you kept trying and trying and trying and you just couldn't get there. Exercise and losing weight are two of those things. A lot of us would like to do that, but we never get there. We never quite do it. And that is another way that I help you in caregiving situations. I help you get there. So a lot of caregivers will say, oh, I need help. I don't need education. Education helps you take action. Education helps you avoid all of the catastrophes, the caregiving train wrecks, all the crazy stuff that goes wrong, helps you avoid harm to yourself and your loved ones. My second course is about power of attorney, and there are links to the pages on my website for both of these. And then on those pages, there are links to actually sign up for the courses. The power of attorney course is twofold. It is why you should have a power of attorney, because if something happens to you, regardless of your age, car accident, sporting accident, and you end up in the hospital emergency room, if you cannot make decisions for yourself, the healthcare system and the doctors will do it. And they may not make the decisions that you would make. So it is important that you have control over your health, your healthcare situation, and your planning if something happens. Number two, if you don't have your power of attorney documents, do you even know what this person who is appointed a power of attorney is supposed to do for you? Many individuals do not. Many people appointed power of attorney have no idea of the high level of responsibility that they have. I know this because I served as power of attorney, court-appointed guardian, trustee, personal representative for my clients for many, many years. The person that you choose to be your power of attorney is your advocate. They are supposed to help you get the best health care possible, to make decisions for you as you would make those decisions if you are unable. That person should be tied to your hip when you start having health problems. And you should be in touch with them most of your life so that they know the decisions that you make. They are familiar with your health. That is why I was so successful for many of my clients, because I knew what questions to ask, I knew about their health, and I knew how to advocate with the healthcare system and with the doctors. And so this is what I teach you in the Power of Attorney course, in addition to what do all the legal definitions mean? Who should you choose? Sometimes choosing family members is not the right solution. I was the medical power of attorney for so many solo agers, for married couples, for single adults who did not trust their family to make the right decisions, or there was no family, or family lived across the country and were not available. Your power of attorney should be someone who is readily available and who can devote the time to help you with your care. Sometimes power of attorney can be like a full-time job. It is a commitment that you should not take lightly when you appoint your person as power of attorney. And if you are accepting to be a power of attorney, in fact, that is the title, for someone, make sure that you are willing to do what it takes and that you even know what it takes. So if you go to both of these pages on my website, there is more information about the courses and how I can help you. Please do share this webinar, share this information with other caregivers. There are so many caregivers out there who need help and need information. I'm going to turn on the webcam here and stop the slide presentation so I can say goodbye to you. But I am Pamela Wilson. And again, for the past 20 years, I've helped caregivers and aging adults. My mission is to help you avoid all of the traps, all of the pitfalls in caregiving, and the issues that we talked about today about don't let this happen to you or a loved one. I can help you. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. Please join me for next month's webinar. We will have another interesting topic, and I will post this on my website and my YouTube page, and I'll post the replay on Facebook. So I hope to see you next month. Again, please share this information. I so appreciate your spending this time with me because of my commitment to help make caregiving better and safer for everyone. I will see you next month.